Hi, I'm Mike Rinkin, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you as a church. And this ministry, it's called Compassion Ministry, and we've been going for 28 years. It's hard to believe. And it's a ministry that I was pastoring before that and doing well in a small rural church. And I have a son who's 50 years old. We adopted him at the age of 16 months, but he had been through an awful lot in his life, some of it because of his family who also dealt with mental illnesses. And it was really sad to watch a young man, and I can brag about him because we adopted him. It was unbelievable watching him and listening to him, and I thought, oh my gosh, we got an Einstein in our family. But as time went on, we began to notice some things in his life that were not what I call normal. And as time went on, finally we were able to get a diagnosis, which was a wrong diagnosis of adolescent schizophrenia. But we knew this was not right. And so as time went on, he got a correct diagnosis, which was bipolar or manic depression, which is a mood disorder. And I was going to bed one night. I just couldn't get to sleep, and I was beginning to complain to God about the poor services that were being provided in Oregon and how poorly our son was being serviced. And so the Lord allowed me to grouse and complain for a good 20 minutes, easy. And then he says, okay, Mike, do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution? And I said, well, of course I'd like to be part of the solution. And so he began to share with me a vision, much like you read in the Bible. And that vision was how the churches could make the difference. Where society has failed, or where secular world has failed, I'm not going to fail through the churches. And so you begin to work with churches, sharing with them what mental illness is and how it has devastated our society and the world. And that takes time. And I want to share with you, I dug this out of my many records, a good definition of mental illness. It's taken from NAMI, National Alliance of the Mentally Ill. Mental illness is a condition that disrupts a person's thinking, feeling, mood, ability to relate to others, and daily functioning. Mental illnesses are medical conditions that often result in a diminished capacity for coping with the ordinary demands of life. Now I share that with you, that definition, because it talks about how it controls, mental illnesses control mood and the intellect. Now the ministry is basically, we do educational seminars, and then we do what we call friend-to-friend ministry. And a lot of these people that deal with mental illness, not all of them, but a high percentage of them have been institutionalized. In other words, they've been hospitalized, and sometimes they end up in prison for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they end up on the streets. In fact, 40% of the homeless deal with a mental illness. That's the latest statistic nationally. So here we have a group of people that have been institutionalized, been told what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and they have been so discouraged and so defeated that they have lost their self-worth. So what we try to do is to work with the county mental health and ask them and tell them, we can help you guys, help these folks get back into society, some of them, and help them to feel that they have a sense of worth and purpose. And this is where the church comes in. Churches that people that can volunteer to be a friend to those who are mentally ill. And that friend-to-friend piece is one where I train people to learn to listen. We all know how to talk, and we all know how to, for most of us, know how intellectually to talk to people, but to listen to people, that's another situation. And I think that a lot of the problem here in our United States and the world is we're not very good listeners. God has given us 2 ears. and he's given us one mouth. I wonder why. And with that coming into being, we teach people how to listen. And we also share with them, you're not there to necessarily to just lead them to Christ. By the way, you don't lead anybody to Christ. It's the Holy Spirit that does this. But I train them to listen to the Holy Spirit, to when they gather with these folks, to be praying, constantly be praying, Lord, is there a chance now to share your good news with people? And then in the process, we end up meeting the parents, the family, and it's a family issue. It's not just the one who's ill, because we also try to have support groups for those who are ill and the family members together, not separately. And what's so good about that is they begin to listen to each other and begin to help each other. Because most of the time people who are ill, they don't want to talk about it. And those parents sometimes are rather pushy. And they learn how to listen. They learn how to respond to them. And so when we talk about this friend-to-friend ministry, this is what we want to see happen. We want to see people become whole people. We want them to become contributing to society. And it can happen in a variety of ways. You know, Satan is alive and well. He doesn't quit, doesn't give up. And he has used mental illness to destroy people. He really has. But our God is so big. We have an opportunity as a vehicle of the Lord to provide hope. One of our seminars that we use is called Hope for Healing. And when we put the seminar on, we share with them, now listen, we cannot heal you unless God decides to do that, but we can offer you some hope. And so we put these seminars to educate people about mental illness. We invite those who are ill, their families, and people who are at a church as far as the leadership to come and listen so they can be an extension of the ministry that we have. You know, Compassion Ministries is just an extension of the Lord. The church is about sharing the gospel. And sharing the gospel is not just grabbing some people by the lapel, but it's also living it out in people's lives and offering to them hope.